this video, we are going to look at the concept of oppression and situate it within the larger concept of social justice. Oppression is connected deeply with power and privilege, and as a framework, seeks to highlight the different forms and sides at which oppression may take place. It serves as a lens through which we view our world and the injustices within it. This lens is important because it creates room for acknowledging our current worldviews and seeing our context in new and transformed ways. If seeing leads to believing and believing translates to behavior, we must first understand how we see injustices. American author, professor, and speaker Margaret Wheatley has expressed wanting to see beyond the Western mechanical view of the world and see what else might appear when the lens was changed. This mechanical worldview refers to a lens that emphasizes the individual over the system, and it can distort our perspective on injustice and inequity, removing them from the systemic and placing them on individual interactions and on power dynamics. For instance, if a person is underperforming at their job, they may often be viewed as incompetent or lazy by their manager. However, there may be many social and structural factors affecting their performance, such as their social political status, their caregiving responsibilities, their mental health, amongst others. The notion of individualism decontextualizes the actions of individuals from the larger system of oppression and reduces the accountability of larger systems in ensuring that such oppression is addressed. Furthermore, it perpetuates a victim blaming mindset, placing the onus of improvement on the oppressed. It is therefore important that while speaking of oppression, we challenge individualistic thinking and reflect on the complex interactions between people, policies, practices, institutions, and cultural ideologies that perpetuate inequity in a systemic manner. In this video, we will understand oppression through Iris Marion Young's 5 faces of oppression. These include exploitation, marginalization, powerlessness, cultural imperialism, and violence. Exploitation refers to when the labor and energy expenditure of one social group benefits another social group more than their own. It reproduces a relation of domination between the groups, involving a systematic and unreciprocated shift of power from the former group to the dominant group. From this lens, marriage could be conceptualized as an exploitative class relation in which a working man benefits from the homemaker's labor because the homemaker has to carry out household activities for someone on whom they are financially dependent and receive no comparable compensation for it. However, exploitation cannot be eliminated just by redistributing goods and opportunities, but it has to be eliminated by reorganizing institutionalized practices of decision making, altering structural relations and divisions of labor, and bringing about cultural change in the way care work is perceived in society. Marginalization refers to a group's exclusion and subsequent deprivation from meaningful participation in social life. Groups are confined to lives of social marginality based on identity markers such as their gender, caste, religion, age, ability, and so on. Not only does marginalization cause material deprivation, but the welfare policies put in place to combat this often end up subjecting such groups to the invasive authority of service providers. It denies people dependent on such policies the rights and freedoms that others may enjoy. Additionally, marginalization extends beyond economic deprivation to denying cultural, practical, and institutionalized conditions by blocking the opportunity to exercise capacity in socially recognized ways. The third facet, powerlessness, relates to the Marxist ideology that some people have power while others do not. It's when a dominant social group exercises power over another social group, such that the latter has to take orders from the dominant group without having the chance to ever give orders themselves. The powerless lack the authority, lack the means and the autonomy and the opportunity for self determination. It creates a culture of silence in which the powerless are not able to talk about these injustices as they have no voice or will. One way this power differential is maintained is by indoctrinating the oppressed to believe that they are naturally inferior to the dominant group. The fourth facet, cultural imperialism, refers to the normalizing of dominant groups' experiences and the othering of oppressed groups' experiences. It involves establishing the dominant group's culture as the norm, such that the beliefs of that society are the most widely characterized by the experiences, values, goals, and achievements of these groups. The oppressed in this situation are marked by stereotypes, which work as boundaries that cast them into one large mass of others rather than separate independent identities. For instance, cultural and social institutions reinforce the notion that heterosexuality is the normative way of being, thereby othering anyone who dissents from this norm, subjecting them to being viewed as abnormal or inferior under the patriarchal heteronormative system. Finally, violence refers to the disproportionate vulnerability to attack, assault, harass, intimidate, ridicule, or bully. Here, violence becomes an expression of power and privilege, leading to the oppression of those who are powerless. Violence here is not just an individual violent act, but the systems which allow for it to persist as well. Violence in this context is not limited to personal moral wrongs, but something that is accepted and validated within systems as well. Oppression also manifests at different levels and in different spheres of our life. According to John Bell, who is a noted theorist and academician, the different levels of oppression can be understood by the four I's of oppression, which include ideological oppression, institutional oppression, interpersonal oppression, and internalized oppression. We will take the next few minutes of the video to go over these briefly. Ideological oppression pertains to our attitudes, beliefs, values, and feelings about the superiority of some groups and the inferiority of others. While these ideas seem personal, they are socially learned either directly, meaning that they are taught, or indirectly, meaning that they are imbibed. Our cultures shape these ideas, which then shape our beliefs and attitudes, informing our perception of superior ideological beliefs. Institutional oppression, on the other hand, concerns systems, policies, and practices. And what do we mean by institutions? Institutions refer to social arrangements and practices through which collective societal actions are taken. Some examples include the justice systems, educational institutions, healthcare, housing development, and workplace policies. Each institution had its own set of norms and practices. Institutional oppression is thus the systemic injustice faced by social groups that these institutions enforce and perpetuate. It occurs when established laws, policies, and practices systematically produce inequity targeted towards specific social groups. Interpersonal oppression concerns relationships, behaviors, and how we communicate with and treat others based on our own beliefs and attitudes. It could range from making stereotypical jokes, to making threats to instill fear, to ignoring and dismissing the ideas of certain social groups, or to actual acts of violence and abuse. It can be both unintentional or intentional. It is informed by ideological and institutionally oppressive behaviors as well. Finally, we have internalized oppression, where we see that oppressed people may internalize their oppression, leading to them being convinced of their inferiority and may therefore come to internalize the negative messages they are seeing about themselves. On a macro level, it is when oppressed social groups began accepting and adopting stereotypical beliefs and prejudiced feelings about their own group and even actively propagating them. On a personal level, however, it can lead to a person developing a deep sense of inferiority due to their social identity and imposing limits on themselves. You'll notice that these do not exist in a vacuum in separation with each other, but rather as interdependent forms of oppression. Oppression also shows up and occupies space across all forms of interaction we may have in our personal and or professional capacities. They can influence our beliefs and attitudes about ourselves, about others we share an interpersonal relationship with, our perception of institutional policies, laws, and regulations, and at a cultural level as well. With this, we come to the end of this video. I know it has been a lot of information, which is why you can also find this material in your resources so you can go through them at your own pace. While there is no one size fits all map or step by step guide that can be given to anyone willing to unpack this knowledge and apply it to their social change work, it is important to know that these are all very important concepts that are deeply interconnected and interact with each other to inform social justices and social injustices that exist in the world today. As you begin your work and start undertaking a power critical anti oppression lens, we want to leave you with one final reminder. While this work may not seem simple or easy, it is definitely a step in the right direction. There is only one way to learn, and that is by doing and holding space for learning from the mistakes that you inevitably make. So do not hesitate to stumble because we all are there to pick you up. Thank you for staying with us for so long, and we are so excited to see you in the next video.